Discover the incredible moment. Cafe owner reveals life-changing encounter with a billionaire at Pine Perk. Rain fell like tiny diamonds against the window panes of Pine Perk, the small cafe that had become a sanctuary for Maplewood. Sarah, a single mother with a heart as warm as her homemade pies, glanced around the bustling cafe, her eyes shining with purpose. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. But amid the clinking of cups and laughter, a familiar weight tugged at her shoulders, the burden of bills, worries, and dreams slowly being pushed aside. Just as she was handing a slice of cherry pie to Mrs. Thompson, a regular in a floppy hat, the door swung open, and in walked a striking figure. A man, tall and golden-haired, dressed in a suit that screamed Wall Street, stepped into the cafe, dripping with wealth and unaware of the world he just entered. David, a billionaire, seeking an escape from his high-stakes life, had no idea he'd stumbled into the heart of Maplewood. "Is everything organic here?" he asked, the question hanging awkwardly in the air. Sarah's smile faltered. Did he think they were running a high-end restaurant? Her skepticism danced in her chest. "We use local ingredients where we can," she replied, her tone cool yet polite. A conversation began that felt more like a clash, David's naivete bumping against the gritty reality Sarah knew all too well. The cafe buzzed with local chatter, yet underneath it all, Sarah's heart raced with frustration. How could someone like him fathom what it meant to struggle? She glanced towards the small table in the corner where her 10-year-old son, Tommy, fiddled with a Lego set, his brow furrowed as he was lost in thought. Earlier that week, he'd come home teary-eyed, telling her about the boys at school taunting him for his second-hand clothes. "You don't know what it's like," she said, words escaping her before she could rein them in. David frowned but didn't reply. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." As the afternoon wore on, chatter turned to excitement. Sarah found comfort in the familiar faces, her community rallying behind her as she fought for her dream, keeping the cafe afloat. Yet, the weight of despair lingered when a fundraiser meant to save Pine Perk fell flat. The murmurs of dissatisfaction from her neighbors echoed painfully. Yet one moment, an act of courage pulled Sarah back to her center. Standing tall for Tommy, confronting the school about his bullies, she became the embodiment of resilience, igniting a spark in David that made him reconsider his view of success. But when Sarah's estranged father unexpectedly walked through the door, tension crackled in the air. What secrets did he carry? Would he bring the resolution Sarah had longed for? People held their breaths, eyes flickering between father and daughter. In a quaint cafe where the aroma of pies mingled with hopes and dreams, everything could change in an instant. Would Sarah confront her past to build a better future for her son? And for David, could he abandon his world of privilege to embrace the warmth of genuine community? As emotions thickened, the story was far from over, an emotional transformation poised to unfold. The door creaked open once more, and Sarah's gaze tightened. Her father stood there, drenched from the rain. His weary expression held an unsettling mix of sadness and resolve. It felt surreal, as though time had folded in on itself, and the years of hurt and absence hung heavily in the air. "Sarah," he said softly, his voice barely rising above the cafe's gentle hum. "Can we talk?" A knot twisted in her stomach. She wanted to weigh her words, but instead, they tumbled out. "You're the last person I expected to see. What do you want?" David, caught in the crossfire, shifted uncomfortably. He had come to Pine Perk looking for respite, but found the emotional weight almost suffocating. As Sarah faced her father, the tension seemed to coil tighter in the room. People paused mid-conversation, glancing over, sensing the unfolding drama. Her father stepped forward, rainwater pooling at his feet. "I made mistakes, Sarah. I know that. But I've changed." "Changed?" She scoffed, eyes narrowing. "You think it's that simple? You left us. You left me." Around them, the cafe buzzed with curiosity. The joy of coffee cups was now laced with the fragrance of old resentments. Tommy peered up from his table, sensing the sudden shift. He fidgeted with his Legos, casting worried glances between his mother and the stranger. David, the outsider in this family saga, took a step towards Sarah, drawn into the moment by the flicker of pain in her eyes. He wished he could offer words of comfort, but all he had was a question. What does he want from you? What are you hoping for? Hope, Sarah replied, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. I used to hope for a father. Now I just want to know why now? Her father's gaze faltered, but he pressed on. I've been trying to reach out. I was afraid to come back, but I've been living with the guilt every day, Sarah. I want to help you, to make things right. Help? You think you can just waltz back in and help? Her voice trembled, straining to contain anger and sadness. I built this life without you. In that heartbeat, the weight of her words sank deep. David felt a prick of recognition, a strange admiration for this woman with the courage to confront her past. Could he ever find that same strength? The walls of his own world felt constricting, leaving him desperate for a sliver of authenticity. Tommy couldn't bear to watch anymore. He stood and walked over, his small voice breaking through the tension. Mom, is everything okay? Sarah's expression softened, and for a moment, her focus shifted away from her father, landing on the child she fought so hard to protect. Her heart softened, aching at the thought of the life she wanted for Tommy. She knelt, brushing the hair from his forehead. I'm trying to figure it out, sweetie. Just give me a moment. Tension hung between father and daughter, the cafe witnesses to the chasms of their past. David found himself drawn into the revelation unfolding before him, feeling a growing awareness of his own choices and the privileges he had taken for granted. Maybe he started, unsure. Maybe we're both trying to find a way to start fresh. Sarah's eyes met his, flickering with a mixture of emotions. The path to healing was tangled and unclear. Would she allow this moment to unfold? Could they each stake a claim to their own redemption? Her breath caught, and just like that, the cafe felt alive with possibility. But as her father looked on expectantly, she had to make a choice: acceptance or rejection. Would she embrace the unknown or safeguard her heart? As silence blanketed the cafe, an unexpected glimpse of hope rippled through. Could a fractured family mend the pieces together? The skies outside began to lighten, casting a new glow a little too soon. What came next could change everything. Sarah swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. The rain-soaked figure of her father loomed before her, a man she had both missed and resented in equal measure. Her heart raced, unsure if it was with fear or longing. Start fresh? She repeated, her voice trembling. You think it's that easy? I'm not here to wipe the slate clean for you, Dad. I need to know you're serious. David opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. Instead, he glanced at Tommy, who was still watching with wide eyes, and then back at Sarah. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was about the little boy standing by her side, who deserved a stable life, untouched by the chaos of past mistakes. Tell me what you want. Then, Sarah pressed, desperation edging her tone. Do you want to be a part of my life? A part of Tommy's life? I do. The words escaped David before he could think twice. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to be there for both of you. To help you. To be a better person. Silence enveloped them once again, harsh and heavy. Sarah felt the familiar rush of wounds reopening, blood fresh and bright. And yet, part of her ached for the chance. What would it be like to let him in? Could she bring herself to imagine a future where the distance didn't feel so impossible? Tommy tugged on her shirt. Mom, can you say yes? He seems really sad. That innocent plea pierced through her uncertainty. The wide-eyed hope in her son's gaze was a mirror to her own childhood dreams of family, tangled in sorrow and silence. She felt tears prick her eyes. Could she really allow herself to dream again, even with the risk of being hurt? What about trust? Sarah asked, her voice breaking. You can't expect me to just forgive and forget. It doesn't work that way. I know, he replied, nodding, his face earnest. I'm willing to work for it, to earn your trust back. Just give me a chance. But a chance meant opening her heart, something that felt both thrilling and terrifying. Would he stay this time? Would he disappear again like a ghost that haunted her childhood? Mom. Tommy's gentle voice broke through her thoughts again. What's wrong? Sarah knelt down, bringing herself eye to eye with him. I need to think about this, sweetheart. Taking a deep breath, She looked back at her father. Okay, let us talk. But just know it won't be easy. You need to prove you're really different this time. Anything, David said, his voice thick with emotion. She could see the flicker of hope in his eyes, the desperation of a man longing for redemption. But would that guarantee him a place in their lives? As they settled into a booth, the cafe seemed to shrink around them, the din of chatter fading into a gentle hum. For the first time in years, Sarah felt the weight of hope and fear living side by side, a heavy tension that might just open a door to something new. But as they began to speak, sharing their stories, neither could shake the underlying anxiety. What if the past was too entrenched to reform? What if a fresh start wasn't attainable for them at all? Outside, the rain began to fall again, casting a gray veil over the world. As they breathed in the scent of brewed coffee mixed with the aroma of fresh rain, they'd have to navigate through a storm far greater than the weather. How would they find the courage to face what lay ahead? Would they really be able to build the family they had once lost? Sarah stirred her coffee, the steam curling up like forgotten hopes. Tommy was seated across from her, his small hands wrapped around a chocolate muffin, while David sat next to him, fidgeting nervously. The three were trapped in an awkward bubble of possibility, the weight of their past swirling just beneath the surface. Tell me how it all went wrong. Sarah finally broke the silence, her voice steadier than she felt. What happened that made you leave? David hesitated, his eyes darting towards the door as if measuring his escape. It's a long story, but I should start by saying I never meant to hurt you, he said, his voice low and tinged with regret. I need more than that. Sorry isn't enough. Not when I was left picking up the pieces. Her heart raced as she remembered those long nights alone. Falling asleep to the sound of silence, he took a deep breath, his eyes glistening. I was scared. After your mother and I split, I didn't know how to be a dad. I was drinking too much, running from everything, from you. I thought staying away was better than showing up as a broken man. So, you thought just disappearing was the answer? Sarah shot back, her frustration rising. Maybe I thought it was easier for you, he replied, anguish etched on his face. But I see now that it wasn't fair. You deserved so much more. Tommy glanced between the two adults, his small brow furrowing with confusion. But you're here now, right? He asked. Can we just be a family again? David's heart sank. The innocence in Tommy's question reminded him of all he'd lost. I hope so, buddy. I just need to prove it to your mom first. The tension in the air shifted, turning stagnant and thick. Sarah's heart ached for Tommy, who was hoping for something she wasn't sure was possible. What does proving it look like? Sarah challenged, leaning forward, her heart racing with the prospect of another disappointment. Let me help more, David suggested, with Tommy's school coming over on weekends. I can't change the past, but I can start being a father moving forward. And if you can't? She countered, her voice a mix of vulnerability and caution. I'll accept that, but I want to stop trying. I promise you that, he implored, his determination shining through the doubt in Sarah's mind. Tommy bit into his muffin, a smudge of chocolate frosting appearing at the corner of his mouth. I think we should try, he said, looking straight at his mother. Just a little bit, okay? The child's faith struck Sarah deeper than expected, a beam of light breaking through her armor. Could she take that leap of faith? One weekend at a time, she acquiesced, her voice softening as she watched Tommy's face glow with hope. David nodded, gratitude flooding his features. That's more than I deserve, but I'll do everything I can to be better. As they settled into a tentative sense of something like family, a waitress approached their table. She had a warm, gentle smile, as if she could sense the fragile nature of this moment. Is everything all right here? She asked, her eyes dancing between them. Just working on a family reunion, David replied, trying to stir some lightness into the heavy atmosphere. Tommy perked up. And it might work. The waitress chuckled softly. Well, if it doesn't, just know that you're welcome here anytime. Family is precious. That word family rang in Sarah's ears, rich with complexity and longing. It brought with it a wave of warmth and disbelief. With a cracked foundation, could they truly rebuild? Just as a sense of cautious hope began to settle in, a notification pinged across David's phone, pulling his focus away. He glanced at it, and his expression changed, his face pale as a ghost. I have to take this, he muttered, standing abruptly and stepping away from the table. leaving Sarah's heart racing and questions swirling. Tommy looked up at her, confusion etched on his face. "Mom, what's wrong?" "Let's just wait and see," Sarah replied, gripping the edge of the table, a fresh wave of anxiety hitting her. In that quiet moment, as uncertainty loomed, she found herself wondering if David was ready for the weight of his words, or if something darker from his past was about to surface, threatening the fragile bond they had just begun to forge. Would they make it through this challenge, or would it all slip away again before it could truly begin? Sarah's grip on the table tightened as she stole glances at David, who was standing a few feet away, his face clouded with concern as he read whatever message had cast a shadow over their fragile reconnection. Tommy sat quietly, his muffin long forgotten, eyes wide and filled with uncertainty. "Mom, is Dad okay?" he asked, his small voice breaking through the tension like the sun piercing through thick clouds. "Yes, honey, I think so," Sarah replied, trying to sound reassuring, but her heart fluttered with dread. What if the news was bad? What if David's past had come back to haunt them before they had the chance to start anew? David turned back towards them, his phone still in hand. He looked both relieved and troubled. "I'm fine. Just a family emergency back home," he said, the words rolling off his tongue like a weight he couldn't shake. "What kind of emergency?" Sarah couldn't help herself. The uncertainty gnawed at her, amplifying the anxiety that had settled in her chest. "I can't say right now," David replied, his eyes darting away. "I'll just need to take care of it." The way he avoided her gaze filled her with a sudden surge of panic. Had anything really changed? Did he still have the power to hurt her? Tommy stirred restlessly, sensing the growing tension. "Can't we just finish breakfast first? I really want to try that blueberry pancake special." "Tommy," Sarah interrupted gently, cutting him off before he could overtalk the adults. "Why don't you go to the counter and ask for a menu? It'll give us a moment." With a reluctant nod, Tommy slid out of his seat, his small silhouette making its way to the counter. Sarah watched him go, wishing she could be as carefree as her son. "David, I need to know what's going on," she said, her voice steady yet barely concealing the tremble beneath. "We're trying to rebuild here, but how can I do that if I don't know what's going on in your life?" I know, he said, raking a hand through his hair. "But it's complicated, Sarah." "Complicated doesn't cut it anymore," she said. "We've both been through too much for those kinds of excuses." His expression shifted, vulnerability creeping in as he held her gaze. "I promise I'll explain everything soon, but right now, I just need to go. It's important." "Important to who?" She shot back, frustration boiling over. "To your family in the past? Or to the family we might have? I don't know, okay?" he replied, raising his voice slightly, the tension erupting around them. "I don't want to lose you again, but I can't pretend everything is fine or that I can just walk away from my responsibilities." The waitress returned, her presence a welcome distraction. "Can I get you guys anything else?" she inquired, sensing the crackling atmosphere. "Just some time," Sarah muttered under her breath. She forced a smile at the waitress and then turned back to David, whose conflict raged like a storm behind his eyes. "Look, just give me a minute and I'll explain everything," he said, a plea cradled in his voice. "Well, after the emergency." "Fine," she said, heart sinking. "But I need you to know this whatever is happening. It better not be an excuse to pull away. We've fought too hard for this moment." Tommy shuffled back to the table, his eyes wide, holding a menu. "Did something happen?" "Just grown-up stuff," Sarah chirped, ruffling his hair. Her smile felt paper-thin, but she hoped to shield him from the unease swirling in the air. As they resumed their breakfast, Sarah's mind raced. Could David really change? Or would his past forever loom like a shadow over their fragile bond? Moments later, a new notification pinged on David's phone. His attention snapped back to the screen, bringing a suffocating silence to the table. "What now?" Sarah whispered, a chill running down her spine as she watched David's face pale once more. He swallowed hard. This could change everything. And just like that, a new wave of tension swept through them as Sarah realized that this moment might just be the tipping point. Would it lead them closer to healing or pull them back into darkness? David's eyes flicked over the screen, his breathing quickening as he processed the message. Sarah leaned closer, her heart racing, desperate to understand. Tommy, blissfully unaware of the whirlwind crashing around them, peered curiously at his father. "David, Please, she urged gently, her voice a mix of anxiety and concern. What is it? He hesitated, glancing at Tommy before slipping his phone into his pocket. I wish I could explain, but I really can't right now. Is it serious? Tommy asked, his innocence piercing through the thick air. Yes, buddy, David replied, his voice softer now. It's serious, but it has nothing to do with you. I promise. Sarah felt the familiar sting of anger rising. The walls David had built around his life were impenetrable, leaving her fumbling in the dark, desperately seeking clarity. That doesn't help us, David, she said, frustration bubbling up again. We're trying to be a family here, and you're keeping secrets. His eyes hardened as he faced her. I'm not trying to keep anything from you. I'm trying to protect you and Tommy. Tommy wrinkled his brow, confusion etched across his small face. Protect us from what? From the past, from the things I can't change, David snapped, frustration spilling over. Sarah took a deep breath, struggling to rein in her emotions. David, listen. We can't build anything new if you're hiding behind your past. I want us to face everything together. Isn't that what we both want? His expression softened momentarily as he glanced at her, but then turned serious again. What I want doesn't matter if I can't get this sorted out. Just give me a little bit of time. Tommy, still holding the menu tightly, finally broke the silence. Can we at least order pancakes now? Sarah and David shared a look, their shared frustration momentarily dissipating. A small smile tugged at David's lips, and he nodded. Yeah, let us do that. Can I get the blueberry ones? Tommy's eyes lit up, his innocence a bright spot amid the chaos. Absolutely, Sarah said, her heart lifting a little as she smiled down at her son. Let us get those pancakes. The waitress returned, and they placed their orders, but the unease in the air hung like a thick fog. As she walked away, Sarah turned back to David. What if it is something bad? She asked, her voice low. What if it pulls you away for good? It won't. I swear. I'm here for you both, he said, his voice steadier. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again. This time, he grimaced and glanced at the screen quickly. What is it? Something I need to handle. I didn't expect maybe it wasn't just an emergency. What do you mean? David hesitated, his eyes darting around like he was wrestling with a decision. This might involve my family and decisions that could change everything again. Sarah felt her stomach drop again. What kind of decisions? Just then, Tommy's phone chimed across the table, instantly catching all their attention. With a child's eager hand, he reached for it. Is that a game update? Can I see? No. David barked accidentally, the panic creeping back into his demeanor before he quickly calmed himself. Sorry, I didn't mean to shout. Sarah felt a swell of anxiety. David, whatever is happening, please. Don't let it become a third wheel between us again. The waitress returned with their pancakes, setting them down with a flourish. Sarah took a breath, trying to push aside the brewing storm inside her. Let us just eat. We'll figure the rest out. Together, she said firmly. David nodded, his gaze shifting to the plates, the moment feeling bittersweet. Out of the corner of her eye, Sarah spotted a glimmer of fear in his expression, a fear that echoed her own. Together she whispered, but the word felt fragile, hanging in the air like a thread pulling them apart. As they began their meal, the shadows of uncertainty loomed, and it felt like they were teetering at the edge of a cliff. Would they leap together, or would one fall back into darkness? The thought hung heavy, intertwining with the aroma of pancakes, promising sweetness yet tinged with worry. David's phone buzzed again, but this time, he didn't reach for it. The silence crackled between them as choices loomed ahead. What would that decision be? Would he choose his old life, or embrace the one evolving before him? Could this really change everything? Sarah thought, desperation pooling in her chest, as she stole one last glance at her father, the man she desperately wanted to understand, and feared to lose all over again. The pancakes arrived, steaming and golden, a small reprieve from the tension that had gripped their table. Sarah watched as Tommy dug in with enthusiasm, syrup oozing over the fluffy stacks. His laughter broke the silence, infecting the air with a sweetness that contrasted sharply with the heaviness inside her. "Mom, this is so good," he exclaimed, his blue eyes sparkling with joy. For a moment, Sarah allowed herself to soak in the happiness radiating from her son. But the joy was short-lived as her gaze shifted back to David, who was pushing the food around on his plate, his expression consumed by thought. "David?" she ventured. "Can't you at least tell me if it involves someone dangerous?" He shot her a glance, his brow furrowed. "No. It's about choices. Choices I made and the consequences I'm still facing. Why do you always have to carry this alone?" she implored, her voice rising slightly. "It's like you're hiding behind this wall, and I don't understand why. You can trust me." He exhaled a shaky breath, his shoulders dropping. "It's not that simple, Sarah. There are things I don't want to drag you both into lessons from the past that could hurt us." Tommy looked between them, sensing the undercurrent of tension again, his smile fading. "Can we not talk about this now? I just want to eat my pancakes." His small voice was tinged with confusion. "Sorry, buddy," David said, forcing a smile for Tommy's sake. He reached across the table, placing a hand on his son's. "We're just having a grown-up conversation. Nothing to worry about, okay?" "Okay," Tommy said slowly, but Sarah could see the lingering worry in his eyes. "Can we go to the park later?" Tommy asked, trying to lighten the mood. "I want to show you the new slide." "Definitely." David's voice steadied as he returned his focus to their son. "The new slide sounds like a blast." As they finished eating, the weight in Sarah's chest grew heavier. She wanted to push him to talk, to uncover the truth that felt lodged in between them like a knot they couldn't untie. But when she looked at Tommy, his innocent smile turned slightly pained. She realized now was not the time. "After the park, we can watch a movie together," she suggested, forcing a lighter tone. "How about something goofy?" "Yes." Tommy cheered, clapping his hands excitedly. "Can we get popcorn?" David chuckled, and it finally broke some of the tension. "Of course, we can't have a movie night without popcorn." Just then, David's phone buzzed yet again, a low buzz that seemed to echo in the stillness of the diner. This time, he didn't ignore it. Glancing at the screen, his face paled, and he quickly rose from the table. "Excuse me. I need to take this," he said, his voice shaking slightly as he stepped away. Sarah's heart sank. She watched him walk away, her mind racing with possibilities. The phone call was clearly more than he was anticipating, and fear gripped her tight. "Mom?" Tommy looked up at her, wide-eyed. "Is everything okay?" She forced a reassuring smile, though her heart thudded painfully in her chest. "I hope so, buddy. Just give him a moment," she said, though the uncertainty clawed at her insides. David stood near the window, a shadow against the bright light filtering in. She could just make out the tension in his body, the way he clenched his fists at his sides. Sarah's eyes narrowed, her gut instinct flaring. Something was happening, and it was pulling him further away from them. When he finally returned, there was something different in his posture, as if he had made a decision, but she couldn't tell what it was. The air thickened around them once more, each heartbeat thudding louder than the last. They might choose a path towards clarity or turn back into shadows. "David," she began, the words trembling on her lips. He raised a hand, cutting her off. "I need to talk to you both. Now." And just like that, the atmosphere shifted again, electric with the weight of what was to come. The looming question of what decisions lay ahead begged for answers. And as they watched him take a breath, Sarah feared that the moment of truth had finally arrived. David's gaze swept over the small diner, taking in the colorful hustle of patrons, the clinking of silverware, and the soft chatter that filled the air. But none of it registered in his mind. All he could see was the way Sarah's eyes searched his, filled with doubt and worry. With a deep breath, he gathered his thoughts, aware that what he was about to say could change everything. "Tommy," he said, his voice steady yet strained, "it's important that you listen to me too." The boy nodded, his eyes wide with the mix of anticipation and anxiety. Sarah's hand reached out instinctively to squeeze Tommy's, sharing silent strength between them. David steeled himself, as if preparing for battle. "I just got off the phone with someone I didn't expect to hear from. It's about my past ghosts I thought were long gone." He glanced at Sarah, the weight of unspoken words poised to spill. "I need to be real with you both." Staring into their faces, he could see the emotions play out across Sarah's features, concern mingled with pride, and a sliver of fear creeping in. "I made choices years ago that put us at risk, choices I thought I could leave behind." "Dad, what do you mean?" Tommy asked, fidgeting in his seat. "Are you in trouble?" David hesitated, struggling to find the right words. "Not in the way you might think." He took a slow breath, running his fingers through his hair. The diner began to fade away, and all he could feel was the heaviness of the moment. I have a chance to make things right, but it might involve some danger. Danger? Sarah's voice broke slightly, the worry in her eyes intensifying. What kind of danger? It's complicated. He could feel the tension between them growing thicker. Just promise me you'll hear me out. Tommy remained silent, his brow furrowed as he quietly processed their dad's words. Okay, he whispered. David continued. Years ago, I was involved with people who shouldn't have been part of my life. I thought I could cut ties, but they don't forget easily. He glanced again at Sarah. I thought I was protecting you both by staying silent. But now that they've resurfaced, I have a choice. I can face them, negotiate an end, or run away like I did before. But I can't keep pretending it doesn't affect us. Sarah's heart raced. There it was, the truth hanging thick in the air. You can't just run again, David. We've built a life. Tommy needs you. We need you. David's features softened. I know, but running is still an option, he replied. So I'm asking you both, what should I do? Should I fight, knowing it could hurt you both? Or should I protect you, even if it means stepping into the shadows again? The weight of the decision loomed over them, palpable and terrifying. For a moment, they were all paralyzed, caught in the crossroads of bravery and fear. Tommy looked at his father with wide eyes. I don't want you to be scared, Dad. I want you to be a hero. Being a hero often doesn't feel like one, buddy. David's voice cracked, the love for his son bursting forth. But what if let's just face it together then? Tommy interrupted, his youthful conviction stirring courage in the air. Sarah exchanged glances with David, and a powerful realization settled in. Their family, while shaken, could still withstand the storms ahead as long as they were united. Sarah took a steadying breath. David, we'll support you. Just tell us what to do. He nodded, tears pricking at the corners of his eyes. All right. Together, we fight. Questions hung in the air like smoke lingering after a fire. Would they have the strength to confront the past, or would it consume them more than it already had? As they huddled together, the outside world faded. The clattering dishes, laughter, and sunlight felt distant. They were locked in a moment that felt both dangerous and sacred, but deep down, Sarah could feel the fear crawling back, whispering that this was only the beginning. What awaited them was still shrouded in uncertainty. David felt a surge of emotions as he looked into Sarah's eyes. Her unwavering support gave him strength, but it also heightened his anxiety. They were stepping into uncharted territory, and he could feel reality pressing in on them like a sudden storm. Okay, let's talk specifics, he said, his voice firm despite the erratic rhythm of his heart. I know people who can help us, but they come with strings. Strings? Sarah echoed, her brow furrowed. She leaned closer to him, as if trying to close off the distance that felt impossibly wide at that moment. Connections, favors things I can't control. In the past, they've had a way of twisting situations to their advantage. David rubbed the back of his neck, remembering the times he'd felt powerless. But I need to reach out. I can't just sit here wondering if they'll make a move again. Tommy shifted in his seat, trying to grasp the enormity of what his father was proposing. So if you talk to them, what happens then? Will they hurt us? His voice trembled slightly. David wished he could promise safety. I don't know. But if I do this right, I can set everything straight. We might finally be free of this shadow. The weight of uncertainty settled in the pit of Sarah's stomach. And if you don't? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Then we're still at risk, and I'll be running again. And that's not what I want for us. I want to leave this time. Sarah felt a mixture of fear and resolve. She admired David's determination, but the stakes were dangerously high. We can't risk you putting yourself in danger, she said, her voice sharpening. You have to be careful. The boy interjected. But Dad, you said we're fighting together, right? Doesn't that mean we can help too? His innocent belief in their strength pierced through the tension. David chuckled softly. It's true, Tommy. But this is my fight. I'm the one they're after. You both need to be safe. Seeing the disappointment in his son's eyes made David's heart ache. I promise, I won't go in blind. We'll come up with a plan, okay? A way where you both can stay out of this. Sarah felt conflicted. Protecting Tommy felt paramount, but she also didn't want to diminish his bravery. I want to help too, David. We can learn and prepare. We've dealt with issues before. What's different this time? David took a deep breath. This time, the stakes are higher. If they catch wind that we're against them, his voice trailed off, fear replacing the confidence he had projected. I can't risk losing either of you. I'm not afraid, Tommy said, his voice steady. I want to be there for you, Dad. David's heart swelled with a mix of pride and foreboding. You're so brave, buddy. But I want to keep you both safe. We have to strategize. Stepping back from the table, Sarah glanced at the bustling diner, thinking about the past year, how they had made a home in that little space of belonging. Every smile shared, every meal enjoyed, and every laugh echoed. What if we start now? Research those people you've dealt with before and gather what we can while figuring out an escape plan? David nodded slowly, understanding that they were all in this together. We'll make a list, Tommy, still excited, added, a plan. We'll make it together. He clapped his hands, clearly energized by the idea of a family mission. The trio shared a moment of unity, ignited by hope, but the shadows of the past lingered, dark and foreboding. Sarah's heart raced as she wondered if they had genuinely embarked on this path together or if they were stepping into a trap. As the weight of their unsteady alliance settled in, the door to the diner swung open. A figure entered, eyes scanning the room, eyes that stopped dead when they landed on David. David, a voice called out, laced with familiarity and danger. The moment shifted, and Sarah's skin tingled with apprehension. What would this encounter bring? Would they finally confront the ghosts of the past or find themselves engulfed in the shadows once more? David's heart thudded heavily against his chest as the voice echoed through the warm cafe, a haunting call that beckoned from shadows he thought he could leave behind. David, the figure, stepped closer, the golden light of the cafe illuminating a familiar face, one marked by promises broken and choices that lingered. I didn't expect to find you here. Sarah felt the air shift, tension coiling up her spine. She glanced at David, his expression a mix of dread and resolve. Tommy, oblivious to the charged atmosphere, continued to munch on his blueberry pancake. Jake, David greeted, his voice strained a silent acknowledgement of their shared history. What are you doing back? Jake's tone was casual, but carried an edge, like a blade concealed beneath silk. Thought you'd forgotten about us. I'm through with that life, David said firmly, standing a little taller. I have a family now. Things are different. Sarah felt her heart flutter, a flicker of pride mixed with an overwhelming urge to stand between them. Yet, she held her ground, trying to appear calm for Tommy. Jake narrowed his eyes, an unsettling grin spreading across his face. Family, huh? Interesting. Does that include the little guy? He pointed at Tommy, who looked up, curiosity evident in his wide blue eyes. That's enough, David replied, voice firm yet wary. Oh, let us not make this awkward, Jake said, his smile widening. We're simply having a reunion. Isn't that right? Tommy squirmed in his seat, glancing between the two men, sensing the storm brewing. Dad, stay out of this, Tommy, David commanded, his protective instinct flaring, but it was too late. The corners of the cafe fell silent, watching as if witnessing a spectacle at a theater. Who do you think you are, coming in here after all this time? Sarah's voice was low, but fury ignited within her. Your past doesn't concern us anymore. Oh, but it does. Jake stepped closer, his gaze sharp. You wanted to know what David's hiding? He isn't just running away. He's digging himself a grave. You don't know anything about our life, she shot back, her resolve burning bright. We're building something new together. David's face turned ashen, knowing the truth of the matter, but refusing to let Jake break the fragile hope growing between them. Tommy could feel the heat of the moment, his brow furrowing in confusion. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, David said, though his voice trembled slightly. Just a misunderstanding. Let me help clear it up, Jake mocked. David still owes me, and as it turns out, the debts don't just disappear. The cafe pulsated with tension, each second dragging heavier than the last. David took a deep breath, stepping forward. I want to go back. Not now, not ever. Such courage, Jake scoffed. But courage doesn't pay the bills, my friend. You know the game. Without thinking, Sarah shifted closer to David, intertwining her fingers with his, a silent affirmation of unity. We're done playing games. Tommy, now wide-eyed, tugged at his mother's sleeve. What is going on? It's just grown-up stuff, buddy, she said, forcing a smile. Her heart raced, and panic churned in her chest. But we're okay. Jake dropped his voice, speaking low enough that only David could hear. This is your last chance to make a choice. You can stay and fight, he gestured towards Sarah and Tommy, or run like you did before. Every muscle in David's body tightened. The pressure of old habits clashed with the weight of new responsibilities. I'm not running, he whispered fiercely. Jake smirked. We'll see. You can't just erase the past. In that moment, as the world spun around them, David felt something shift inside. He turned to Sarah and Tommy, both looking up at him with expectant eyes. And he remembered this wasn't just his fight. It was for them. Jake, he said loud enough for everyone to hear, skin prickling with determination. You want me? Then you'll have to face my family too. People around the cafe held their breaths, sensing the shift in energy. David felt a sliver of resolve wash over him, steadying his heart. This is my choice. I choose them. Hey. Smirk faltered on Jake's face, replaced by surprise and begrudging respect. You think you can protect them? Watch me, David replied, his voice unwavering. Sarah squeezed his hand tighter, her heart swelling with courage as Tommy's small hand reached up to hold another corner of their makeshift alliance. No one's going anywhere without talking this out, Sarah declared, her tone transcending fear, soaring into the realm of confidence. You think you have power here, but we're stronger together. Jake's expression twisted confusion mixed with a hint of admiration and rage. You all are fools if you think this will just go away. We're not fools, Tommy piped up earnestly. We're a team. With those words, the atmosphere shifted. The cafe filled with murmurs, electricity buzzing like static in the air. There they stood, a fractured family bravely confronting their past, ready to weave a new future. Jake stared at them, daring anyone to take a step back, but the strength radiated from their intertwined hands, making it clear this bond wouldn't break easily. Fine, he spat, stepping back slowly. But don't say I didn't warn you. The door swung shut with a sharp clang as he exited, leaving behind a tense silence, followed swiftly by a release of breaths held too long. As the cafe resumed its rhythm around them, laughter bubbled back up and life returned to its usual warmth. But in the tiny corner booth, the air shimmered with a newfound energy, the kind that blossomed from shared hope. David folded his arms around Sarah and Tommy, pulling them in close. We did it together. Tears of gratitude welled in Sarah's eyes as she gazed at her new family, the love within shining brighter than all the fears that had lingered. Tommy beamed, unaware of the storm they had just weathered. Together they had made a choice, to confront the darkness, to face their past armed with love, trust, and unity. This is just the beginning, David whispered. We'll face whatever comes next together. The sunlight poured in, warm and golden, as if the universe itself was supporting their rebirth. In that moment, they knew that no matter what lay ahead, they had each other. As they laughed, the cafe filling with their joy, an undeniable truth settled softly in their hearts. Their journey had only just begun. Now, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm seriously. It makes a difference. Comment below with your feelings about this ending. Your reaction does matter, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.